Welcome to today's SeafoodNews.com video, sponsored by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute.
Good morning. It's Monday, January 7th. We were floored over the weekend when we saw this story from the Maine Department of Marine Resources about their preliminary lobster landings. According to fish tickets and information received by the Maine Department, total lobster landings in Maine this past year reached an astonishing 123 million pounds. This was up 18 million pounds over the record level of 105 million seen last year in 2011. This means that Maine, with about 125 million pounds of lobster in 2012, has produced about as much as all of Canada combined. This is just unprecedented and shows that something is definitely happening in the Gulf of Maine, both to make lobsters more available to the gear and also to encourage the harvesters or fishermen to land as much as possible. One encouragement has been the extremely low price. Prices for lobsters this past year to the boats were about the second lowest they've been in about 18 years. And this stimulates using more traps or pulling the traps more frequently to try to make up on volume what's being lost in price. But it also raises a larger question. If you look back over the history of the last 10 or 20 years, the volume growth in the American and Canadian Homarus lobster fishery has just been phenomenal. I think it's highly unprecedented, really, for the catches to be steadily increasing at such a rate. And it's going to require new markets and new methods of marketing lobster. In Canada, they're turning to a discussion about ways in which they might give incentives to harvesters to limit the catch, one of which obviously is an individual boat quota. But regardless, until the industries, both in Maine and Canada, find a way to align their volume landings with the market requirements, they're going to be paid a lot less for the lobsters than what they might be worth. Just as a side note, another story that we're running today is on the BRC certification of the tropic seafood lobster plant in the Bahamas of Beaver Street Fisheries. This is the largest lobster processing plant in the Bahamas. One of the things that contributes to the stability of the Bahamas lobster fishery is the fact that a lot of it is done by scuba diving, and the lobstermen do individual selection of animals actually in the ocean. I think that for the American and Canadian fisheries, a better type of selection that would allow weaker soft-shell lobsters to remain in the water is one solution that would both reduce the volume and improve the quality. In Lexington, Mass., this is John Sackton.
Today's SeafoodNews.com video was brought to you by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute. Alaska has been protecting wild and sustainable seafood for generations and adheres to the most recognized and internationally accepted set of guidelines written by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. For recipes and additional information, visit wildalaskaflavor.com.